One of the most diversified departments we have in the city of Douglasville is our Development Services Department, which is directed by Jeff Noles. He will be my special guest for this edition of On the Agenda. In just a moment, Mr. Noles and I will be back, and I hope you will be here to join us.
Hi, I'm James Grillo, and my City TV is streaming 24/7.
Well, my special guest on today's edition of On the Agenda is a person that you know because you watch City TV. He's the co-host of the popular Gov 101 show and the self-proclaimed most popular personality on City TV. Now, I may take issue at that statement, but certainly he does a great job. But you know, being in front of the camera is Jeff's second career, and we're going to talk today. His primary job is director of the city's Development Services Department, and we're going to talk about some of the activities in that department and what's taking place as we go into calendar 2009. But Jeff's great to have you today on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here.
Well, you know, your co-host on Gov 101, Marcia Hampton, who's director of our Community and Downtown Services Department, she's been on 3 or 4 times with me, and I'll tell you the same thing that I told her, that I really appreciate the job that the two of you do on Gov 101. You do it in a light-hearted, somewhat humorous manner to get across subjects that are very serious and sometimes complex, and so I thoroughly enjoy what you do. And you know, you give the rest of us a goal to shoot for with our other programs, namely to see if we can come up to what you consider to be the most popular, most watched program on City TV. But I don't think you really have any rock-hard evidence to back up those claims. But you know, today we're going to talk about your main job, though, as director of the Development Services Department. And we also want to share a little bit on your personal side that people may not know about. But I do want to start off by talking about Gov 101. Now, I'm not sure I believe all those promotional spots that I've viewed over the past year, in which Gov 101 says that you've broken all barriers and the Super Bowl champions of government access television. But I am convinced of one thing, that you and Marcia have certainly found a key to being able to present a lot of good information in an entertaining way so that people are able to really, I think, get a sense of what government is all about and to enjoy it in the process. And I think that's very good. But I'm going to give you a chance to kind of defend a couple of charges that I've made about your self-proclaimed nature here. So you've got your opportunity to defend yourself.
It wasn't my idea. Let's just put it at that. We have a great staff that is behind the scenes on all of this, and they come up with some very interesting statements, scenarios, different film things they do, and it's amazing. But I've given them the opportunity to basically abuse and abuse me as they wish, and they have. I realized a long time ago, what you do in front of the camera, they will utilize at some point during the day.
Well, whatever you and I do this afternoon, they still have the editing ahead of us, and so you're at their mercy. And actually, I think Kelly Hunter and her staff do a great job and have certainly enhanced all of our programs, including Gov 101. Of course, all of us at City Hall really like that segment in which they make you into the incredible shrinking man, and Marcia just kind of casually flips you off for her shoulder. Have you decided, hey, at some point you're going to return the favor on that?
Well, you know, that was actually that started off as a good idea I had for another show where I shrank down and had a little alter ego voice that was telling me things to do or not do with Marcia on the show. And well, those great ideas get used and abused every day. And then the next thing I saw it on a different show, and Marsha was flipping me off of her shoulder, and I said, well, that's the same character we used for a different bit in a different show. And you know, I've thought long and hard about it. Hopefully it'll be my turn one day with the editors, and they'll come up with something good. But we're at their mercy.
Right, you're right. Well, you know, when Marsha and I, she did the first program with me. It was a two-part show on community development, and I was kind of worried that she might take over my show like I had accused her of doing with you on Gov 101. And sure enough, by the time we got through with the first show, she was the host and I was the guest. But in all seriousness, she does a great job, and so do you. And I want you to tell us a little bit about how the two of you decide on the flow of Gov 101. And of course, one of the programs that I thoroughly have enjoyed was when y'all did the classic breaking up your duo. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when you did that, I did tell Marsha that as far as I was concerned, if she wanted to, that we would give her a show without you, and you could have Gov 101, but she was going to have Gov 202.
I was aware of that.
So, tell us a little bit about how y'all put together what you do for Gov 101.
It's really a unique atmosphere. There's little to no scripting. We usually decide about a week in advance what the topic for the show is going to be. Come into the studio and start filming. Both of us, I guess, study up as much as we can to be relative experts in the subject matter, whatever we're discussing. But we just come in here and get in front of the cameras, and it rolls. You know, most of the time for our 25-minute show, it'll take about an hour and a half to film. We've gotten that down, tailored that down a little bit more, and Kelly has done a great job at actually nailing us down on a schedule, which we weren't really accustomed to before. But you know, it's an interesting concept, and I love coming in here, and it's really an open discussion between Marsha and myself, and hopefully it comes across as not only entertaining but educational at the same time.
And I'm sure you're going to have some great shows in 2009.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the first show that I think will air in about a month or so.
Leadership Douglas is a program that's funded and hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, local Chamber of Commerce, and we just filmed this show recently, and it's a great show highlighting something that I'm an alumni, a graduate of,
right,
and something that Marsha's going through right now. It's just being a part of being a leader, what it's all about, being a leader in the community and learning all the different aspects of the community. We had a discussion yesterday, and Kelly and Marsha came up with a change to our schedule. So our March show is going to be about our maintenance and sanitation department. Okay. Because April, being the month for Georgia Cleanup and Recycles Month, we're going to be highlighting what our sanitation guys do, and I think we're going to get to ride on the back of a garbage truck.
All right.
For the filming of that one, so it should be pretty interesting.
Sounds like a good idea. Well, I want to stick with City TV for a minute, but I want to take you from being in front of the camera to behind the scenes, and City TV is actually one of the divisions in your Development Services Department. Now, that may seem to people to be kind of a strange place to put a government access television operation, but that's what I recommended to the mayor and city council a couple of years ago that we do, and it was because of your experience and your abilities. So why do you think I did that?
Like you said, experience and abilities, technology, innovation, and independence. City TV works in its own special way, and it's a full-time job for a lot of people, and it's more than a full-time job for one person, that's for sure. But I have I guess my unique abilities is having an understanding of government as a whole, the city of Douglasville as a whole, right, and how it all works together, and how it all has to seamlessly work together is very important. Right. I think my understanding of the technology that's out there and the ability to work with the people who work with the technology and being able to speak the speak and hopefully understand what they're talking about when it's over.
And City TV, of course, up to this point has been a 3-hour time block that's shown 4 times during a week. Soon we expect to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Comcast. So what are you and Kelly and everybody doing to get ready for this?
The most important thing that we've been doing is understanding the scheduling component, not just what's going to be on the air and when it's going to be on the air, but how we go about getting these shows filmed and all the different events, not only filmed but produced. The hardest component is not what we do here. This is probably the easiest part of it. The hardest part is what they do once they get back into the studio and start cutting all these things apart. Scheduling is very important in deciding on when things get filmed and how they get filmed and how quickly they go to production.
Well, you know, another part of your department, and you mentioned a minute ago, your proficiency in information technology, and that led me 2 years ago also to recommend that our IT department be a part of development services, basically just to put it under your jurisdiction. And so tell us a little bit about the setup on our IT department and what we're doing there.
IT department, well, like you said, 2 years ago we had the unfortunate passing of our IT director, Bob Harper, he was a great man and understood more than more than I ever will about how the city of Douglasville started its venture into IT. We basically set up into a number of different components. We have a Windows network, which covers our emails and our user logins, and our AS400, our network, our telecommunications, and our radio component of all that. And you know, it's a full-time job for a number of people. We have a great crew right now, a great team working together to make sure that these things go seamlessly, though.
Right. I know James Grizzle being our director, Alice Gilliard being his deputy, and one of those parts of your team is my longtime administrative assistant. It seems like I'm loaning her to you very frequently. She's our webmaster and does a lot of other things. And IT, of course, is very important, but in the interest of time, I want to move away for a moment on the professional side of things and take a quick look at the personal side of Jeff Noles. Now, you, of course, went to high school here.
I did.
Tell us about yourself.
Born and raised in Douglas County, graduated Douglas County High School right down the street in 1993. Georgia Tech, graduate of 98. I worked in and around the Atlanta area and traveled all over the world working in IT and its various functions and how it interacts with engineering, which led me to the city of Douglasville. Right. You know, I guess one of the proficiencies I have is not only being able to understand what engineers are telling us, but also being able to translate into that into what other people need to hear about what the engineers are actually saying. It's been a quick ride. It's been a fun ride. You know, when I came to the city of Douglasville, it was a blessing for not only me but my family too.
Right.
And I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Right. And you mentioned your family and of course your wife, but I know you have another lady other than your wife that's kind of got the key to your heart. Tell us about that.
I do, and I believe every man with a daughter has a similar experience. Abigail, my little girl, 3.5 years old, Abby, as my wife and I call her, you know, she is the center of my world. My wife and I sometimes kid about, you know, what we ever did before she came along. It's really hard to believe that you had a life before you had a kid. So she's definitely she makes our world go round for sure.
Well, I never had the experience of that with a daughter. I have 5 sons, and of course Jane and I now have been blessed. We have 5 beautiful granddaughters that we have watched grow, so have some secondhand knowledge of that. Final thing though, from a personal standpoint, I know you have a hobby, at least I guess what you could call it, that keeps you physically fit. Tell us about that.
I do, a hobby. You could also call it a passion. I really love being out on the bicycle. I'm a cyclist. I love riding whenever, wherever, as far as we can go. And I try to involve as many people around me as I can in that hobby because I feel like it's a great opportunity to get out and do something outside. You know, during the winter time of the year you do it inside, but the rest of the year I try to get out and get as many people as I can to go with me too and ride. This past summer we rode from Oxford, Georgia, just on the other side of Atlanta to St. Simon's Island, which was a great trip. There was 2,000 other people that joined in on that ride, and it was absolutely amazing.
Well, that's great. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some more activities in the Development Services Department. So to our viewers, I hope you will stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Chan Weeks with Keep Douglasville Beautiful, and My City TV is good for the environment.
I'm talking with Jeff Noles, Director of the city's Development Services Department. Jeff, we've talked about your director responsibilities, including the information technology operations of the city as well as City TV. And now we will move to some other aspects of components of your department. And let's start with code enforcement, which is headed by Todd McAllister, working under your jurisdiction. So tell us about that.
And it was a great show on Gov 101. We do archive those on the web, so anybody interested in viewing that, please go on the website, mycitytv.com, and view that. Code enforcement is a real unique animal all in of itself. It's about going out in the community and educating the public about what the codes of the city of Douglasville are. And that's the most important component of it, is the education component, because most people don't know what rules they're supposed to be following, whether it be tall grass or licensed vehicles or what have you. You know, people don't necessarily know, but we are out there letting everybody know what it is they're supposed to be doing. And you know, in the unfortunate incidents that we can't get someone to come into compliance with whatever we've told them to do, we do have to proceed with court cases and go through the municipal court system. And we're there pretty often.
Right. Well, I've told Todd and his staff that theirs is a very difficult job, because generally what we find is most citizens want things enforced, such as tall grass and where signs are placed, except when it impacts them.
Yeah.
And then they don't think that code enforcement is a good idea. But I appreciate the job y'all do on this, and we're going to try to keep getting better and better at what we do, both in the education aspect and so that we make this as good a service as possible, and at the same time achieve the goal of making sure that we don't have the junk cars, the tall grass, a plethora of signs in places where they don't need to be. And so I appreciate you and Todd working on this. Now I want to turn to another component of your department, and that's inspections, which is headed by Mike Metla. And I've got a three-part question for you. First is, I want you to tell us what kind of inspections your department does. Second, what kind of work reduction has occurred in the inspections activities, because with the national recession, we've had an almost total stoppage of new construction. And third, I know because of what has happened nationally and therefore locally, we've made some changes on how we deploy personnel to try to make things as efficient as possible. So give me a rundown on those.
First question, we do inspections on all commercial and residential buildings. We do framing structural inspections, we do electrical, we do plumbing, HVAC. So basically from the ground up, we're ensuring that a building that's built is built as safe as humanly possible. So our main concern is life safety. We care that whenever anybody goes into that building, that they're going to be safe. Right. And that's the primary component of the inspections department, is to ensure that every building in the community that's built is safe, and not only the ones that are built, but the ones that are that have been built for some time. We go back through and we do safety inspections, fire inspections, and things of that nature, right, to make sure that they continue to be safe. Number two, we have had a reduction. Absolutely, the national housing crisis is in the financial state of the United States of America as a whole has hit Douglasville like it has anywhere else. We've been fortunate as to not have quite the impact as some other parts of the nation, but we have seen our daily average of inspections go from a high of 50 2 years ago to a low of 23. And we have combination inspectors, so our inspectors that do go out, they're skilled in inspecting not only one component of what we've just spoke of, but all components of what we've spoken of. So we don't have, if we have a framing inspection and an electrical inspection going on at the same time, we don't have two inspectors out on the same site at one time. We have one inspector that's there to do all of those things. As far as what have we done to deploy and to ensure that we're being as efficient as possible, as this housing crisis began, we had a little, fortunate, unfortunate. We had some natural attrition. We had we had 2 employees retire within 1 year. We abolished one of those job positions, and we left one of them vacant. We have an employee that's currently deployed in the military, and has been for the past year and a half. So we've had a natural reduction in our staff, which has been really fortunate because it's led to where we're at right now, and that's having what we believe the adequate staffing levels to deal with the inspections that we have right now. We have 2 inspectors, and we have a fire official, and we have our building official, and those 4 individuals handle whatever needs we have. And, once you have vacations and sick leave and things of that nature, we have what we believe an adequate staffing level at this point. So it's allowed us to do a lot more training than we did before.
And of course, our civil and environmental inspector that because we've got fewer residential streets being built in subdivisions, I know one of the things we've done is rather than continuing to contract out inspection services on some major road projects, you and a couple of your people in the department, Greg Robertson, head of maintenance department, y'all have assumed that responsibility. Tell me about that.
We have assumed that responsibility, and it's, we're always building new roads and things of that nature. Well, not always. We don't get that opportunity all the time, but we are currently building a Bright Star Road connector that'll go from Highway 5 over to Bright Star Road in close proximity to Rose Avenue, north of I-20. We're over there inspecting that in between the individuals you mentioned, myself included. We're out there looking at that, ensuring that everything's getting built to plan and that there's not going to be any surprises later on when we get into the further construction of this project. We also have the projects on Chapel Hill Road. We've recently completed some intersection improvements, and we've got some more to go. We'll continue to work on those over the years, funding permitting. But that's something that's important. Inspections ensure the longevity of these projects. The last thing you want to do is spend $1 million on a project and go back and have to fix it later on.
Amen.
we've seen that happen before. We know the pitfalls from some other communities that have had that happen too. And that's what we keep eyes on these projects and ensure that they're being built correctly.
Right. Another component in your department is engineering. You're the city engineer, so tell us what you do as a city engineer.
As city engineer, the city undertakes projects from time to time, either building its own buildings, building roads, different components. The city engineer ensures that those are being constructed properly, that from the planning component all the way to the final construction component, that it runs smoothly and is built to code. That's the most important thing. Is we want whatever we do to be as safe and as well built as anything anybody else would build. And the city engineer's responsibilities is to go out and make sure that that's done and done in the best interest of the city of Douglasville.
Right. Of course, the federal government is talking about this very large economic stimulus program that includes a lot of public works projects. So, frankly, I hope what President Obama and his team move to do will result in you having some increased responsibilities as the city engineer.
We hope so. We certainly hope so.
And speaking of President Obama and the economic stimulus program and our city planning director, Michelle Wright, and you have worked closely recently with the transportation engineering firm Jacobs and putting together projects which we have submitted to congressional leaders, to the Atlanta Regional Commission, to the Georgia Department of Transportation, and hopefully we will get some of that money that will be distributed to local governments for different types of infrastructure improvements, and so we're going to make an effort on this. But planning is an important function, obviously, in any government, and Michelle Wright is our planning director. She's part of your staff.
Right.
So give us a little rundown on what else goes on in the planning department.
Planning's not just a good idea. Planning is a requirement. Planning, you mentioned ARC, GDOT, Atlanta Regional Commission, and Georgia Department of Transportation, as well as the Department of Community Affairs, require that we do certain things to maintain our local government status, and that's comprehensive planning, ensuring that we're taking into consideration all the growth that's occurring, no matter whether it be positive or negative growth, whether people be moving in or out, transportation needs and things of that nature. That they require us to do a comprehensive plan, which looks at our land, basically our uses of our land, and then understanding how best those things be laid out and planned, so that we're taking into consideration how that works as we're growing, and we're required to do that on a pretty frequent basis to go back and review and do a new one from time to time. We recently completed work on a comprehensive transportation plan, which is something new that the Atlanta Regional Commission has requested that we do. And that's based on the transportation dollars with very limited funding and prioritization of the way different projects are handled. They want to see that every community has looked at their transportation needs and adequately addressed and identified those needs. Planning gets you where you need to be.
Right. Well, we've got one more component in your department, and it's not that we went in alphabetical order, but this happens to be the last component. It starts with the letter Z, zoning. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the zoning administration operation that I know you, David Townsend, and Regina Chapman work on.
Right. Appendix A and B of the Code of the City of Douglasville, that's what we call it. It's the zoning code and the development code. And it deals with land use. It deals with how, what can go where as deemed by the City Council through various ordinance changes and things of that nature. It specifies how buildings get constructed, where they get constructed, and other things like that. There's reason behind everything we do, and a lot of this is based in law of how we administer, how things get placed in our community. Convenience stores don't need to be next door to between two houses and things of that nature, and there's laws that guide against that. Right. The development code, Appendix B, is also administered through this department, and that's basically how it gets built. It gives guidelines for parking and landscaping and things of that nature. And the two people you mentioned, along with myself, ensure that these things are being addressed in every component of the community that's being constructed newly, and things that are out there that are existing. So we're always looking at the code and ensuring that we've got the most up-to-date code, and looking at other communities to decide how they do things if that's the direction we're going.
Right. Well, you clearly have a lot that you're responsible for. One other thing I'd like to mention, that when I go out of town for a day or for a week, then I turn over to you responsibilities for acting in my stead as city manager. You do a great job with that, as you do with all the other assignments that you have, and I appreciate you and all the work you do. Now, I always give my special guests an opportunity to have a last word, so here's your opportunity.
Thank you for having me on the show. I was really beginning to worry. A number of these on the agenda shows have been filmed, and I was beginning to worry that I wasn't ever going to be on one. And I knew we did a lot, so I wasn't real sure why we weren't getting airtime. But it has definitely been an honor. I really appreciate being on the show, being able to share with the people out there what we do and how we do it, and hopefully give them a better understanding of why we're out there doing it.
Well, I appreciate all the work you do, and as I said, always give my special guest an opportunity to have a last word. Oh. As a host, I have the last word, and you've had the opportunity today to be on the highest rated and best show on City TV, namely on the agenda. Join us next time, and you have a great day.